Yes, good people. It is your boy A Dazzle here for another edition of WrestlXtra, edition number 8, where we bring to you the happenings and goings on and the topics about black wrestling around the world. As always, I'm here with my boy, the WrestleManiac himself, Mex. What is going on this week?
Yeah, man, it's been a good one. Loads of wrestling to talk about. Not much in the way of like topical discussion for our black wrestlers that we want to focus on, but we saw a few good angles from these wrestlers on TV, so I'm sure we're going to get into it today.
Yes, for sure. So let us have a look back at the week's happenings. Let's actually kick off with AEW this week. We talked about him last week. He was one of our stars of the week. Yeah. Let's get straight in with the big man, Will Hobbs. Not long after we ended the show last week, I think it was the same day, if not the next day, he was signed to AEW. Now, we both know that Cody must have been watching the show, heard us talking about him, and Cody was like, you know what? A-Dazzle said it, so we might as well just sign him. You know what I mean?
I saw Cody pop up in the Instagram Live, American Nightmare. I just didn't want to get you excited. He was here last week.
So Will Hobbs is signed. And, he's gone straight into the big picture. We saw him help out Jon Moxley last week after Ricky Starks and Brian Cage attacked the AEW World Champion. And here comes Big Will Hobbs with the chair, the equalizer. And now he'll be fighting alongside Moxley and hopefully Darby Allin in a 6-man tag against Lance Archer, Ricky Starks, and Brian Cage. Straight in there. How do you see this kind of going, like for Will Hobbs himself, and kind of just that whole storyline? How do you see it playing out?
I mean, firstly, this is how you debut somebody. Straight into the main event, not necessarily straight into the title picture, but he put them with relevant people that people are invested in and in a storyline that people are invested in. This is basically, I mean, I don't want to compare the two, but this is what WWE used to do a lot of the time. I remember back in the late 90s, when they wanted to make someone feel important, they debut them straight in the main event, and then eventually, through time, they might fall down into their deserved position. Will Hobbs has a massive opportunity here, and I can only imagine since they've put him in this spot, there's something big going to come from this. Like, maybe he's just going to have a big spot. Maybe he's just going to really establish himself as a big man and kind of enter this little mini league of Lance Archer and Cage and these kind of other big men. Like, they've literally just, put a rocket to him in some degree. And it doesn't have to be for the championship. This is what we were saying, I think a couple of weeks ago when Miro debuted. It doesn't mean because you're a main eventer that the championship has to be what you immediately go after. They've literally made Will Hobbs a star overnight. Literally,
and I think you're right in saying with him being a big guy, thrown into the main event picture, but not the title race. And even with the two other guys that are kind of in the same mix, I think that was almost their mistake. So with Lance Archer, with Brian Cage, that was a little bit of their mistake. It's kind of throwing them straight in the title picture, knowing full well they're not even going to give them the title. And now, luckily for both men, they're still kind of within the reach.
They're still relevant-ish.
They're still relevant. But the drop was a little bit, you know where it was going to go. Yes, I'm very excited for Hobbs. Whatever happens with this match or whatever happens with him within this, he's already established. It's kind of like, he's fighting with the champion. So even if then he's not in the story afterwards, he's already been established as someone that's quite 100%. Formidable, intimidating, and we've all seen it as well. And he had that little run in the Battle Royal at All Out a few weeks ago as well. So, as you said, I think this is almost the perfect way to establish a very new star. He's not someone that, you know, a lot of people knew from the indies beforehand either. He's a very, very new star to a lot of people. And I think it's brilliant. He deserves, you know, every little bit of this, and the intensity that he showed in that little segment as well last week was just crazy. I want to fight. I'm like,
yeah.
Even I was scared.
It's even good
You know what I mean?
for, like, you know, like I said, you've been like paying attention to Dark. I watch Dark where I can. So people that aren't even like watching Dark, this guy would have just looked like someone that's completely brand new into the company. They might have heard, on socials, Will Hobbs has been signed. But this is, you know, he literally ran in like this was like an invasion kind of angle with a chair, backing, you know, the biggest star in the company, arguably, in the champion, Moxley. It's so good because even once, you know, maybe Moxley and Archer have had their blow off and everything, it's going to be like, if Will Hobbs isn't on TV for a week or two, people are now going to know, all right, you debuted this guy in the main event. Where's Will Hobbs? People will be tweeting, where's Will Hobbs? So
that's true.
You've put him in such a prominent position. Like I say, only good things should follow from here. So really excited to see what they're going to do with him.
And the other guy that we can focus on within this whole picture as well is Ricky Starks. You know, we sing his praises every time we mention his name, and you know, you can't mention Ricky Starks without saying star, because that guy is just phenomenal in every way he needs to be as a wrestler. And even with the way he's grown, and how he was introduced was almost kind of like that perfect way. As much as he was thrown straight into the title, and we're saying that that's not the greatest thing to do, but because it was an open challenge type of scenario, it worked. Yeah. And then from there on, obviously, you know, him and Darby Allin have their thing. Both of them are kind of like, I guess, as we would say, maybe upper mid card type level. And I think that's a brilliant place for both of them to be. And again, Starks, with the potential that he has, being alongside the likes of Cage and with Taz as a manager, and now kind of, you know, with Lance Archer and in this whole main event scene, you know, he's in a very good position, whether he rockets up or it kind of just stays where it is. You know, the sky's the limit for Starks. I can't talk too much about Starks. I'll get too excited and be here for an hour talking about Starks.
Well, I mean, one thing I'm surprised of, I know AEW have is it a pay-per-view in November? Is that their next pay-per-view?
I think it is, yeah, I think so.
Can't quite remember what it's going to be called or whatever. But I'm wondering why we haven't got Darby Allin versus Starks yet in a singles match. It's got to be for then, like, surely. Like, those two need to have a blow-off for their feud as well. And I think we should have probably got that at the last pay-per-view at All Out, but they involved them in the Battle Royal match.
To be fair to AEW, they have and are very much about the longer storyline, and building the stories. So it has worked, and luckily, because Starks is as good as he is, and that little thing has played out quite well in terms of, you know, longing it out a little bit. They've had their clash with the whole tag team match where, you know, Starks got messed up in his back and all that kind of stuff, and they've had the to and fro, and, you know, Darby Allin's been missing while Starks is ranting, you know what I mean, on the promos and stuff. So they've longed it out nicely, and if this can carry on until November, it's possible. I've got a feeling they may clash before that. And maybe the pay-per-view match will just be a bigger match, a stipulation maybe or something like that.
Maybe the anniversary show, 14th of October, because I think that would probably be like
that would make even more sense. Yeah, that would make even more sense. That would be perfect. Yeah. So and to see them two, one-on-one is gonna be a good one.
Yeah, like you said, it's been gradual. It hasn't been like every week they're going at it and we're like, okay, when are they gonna have the payoff? It's been very gradual and stuff. But because I think I'm anticipating this match, and I know it's going to be a good match, I'm thinking, I'm trying to look at my calendar, like, when is it going to be scheduled? Is it going to be this week? Is it going to be that week? Like, I want to see it. So,
and I mean, talking of kind of like, you know, the long storyline and people not being there every single week. This is something that I've looked at and kind of, but almost in a maybe a bit more negative. So we've had Big Swole. She had a big win against Britt Baker. As much as it wasn't the match that everyone kind of wanted or expected, it was more the cinematic thing. And she came out with the win. That's what we wanted. Since then, not seen her.
Yeah.
Nothing's really happened. She's number 2, I think, on the list of the women at the moment, with Nyla Rose the only one above her. Is that has that been a detriment to Big Swole's run, or is it still kind of playing nicely to the whole AEW longer storyline type of approach?
Like for me, what would worry me is if Britt Baker was on TV and Big Swole wasn't. Which hasn't been the case. They have both not been on TV since All Out, which has been probably about 2 weeks or so now. So fair enough. But I just kind of think, someone that's hot out of a feud, out of a pay-per-view as well, you would want to try and, just keep them busy, keep them in the forefront of people, especially like you say, she is the number 2 contender. So, give her just some other wins on Dynamite or even Dark. She hasn't even been on Dark. So it's like, what has she been doing since she beat up Britt Baker in the dental office? Like, where has her and Britt Baker been? So, I mean, I know they've been very concentrating on Thunder Rosa and her and Sheeta's relationship. Even now, Ivelisse and Diamante getting involved. Those women have, I pretty much think at this moment in time, Thunder Rosa is the women's division. Because she's done brilliant work since she's come in, and she doesn't even work for the company.
Right.
But it just came across my mind, like, Swole was one of 2 women's matches on the All Out card, I believe, and she hasn't been on TV since. So
it's I guess it's still a kind of see what happens type of thing, and it's not this is the worst thing you can do, or this is a great way to go about it. It's still kind of, okay, let's still see what they do with it, or with her specifically, from now. You mentioned Thunder Rosa and Ivelisse. There's no way you can mention these 2 without mentioning the possible
scrap
scrap that they had on Dynamite last week. I heard about it before I watched it.
Okay.
So as I'm watching it, actually, I heard about it before I watched it. As I watched it, I was like, yeah, okay, right. Then I saw something and I was like, oh, okay. Now I see where the realism kind of thing happened. It was clear something happened, but at the same time, just the kind of, there was all this whole thing of, they had a big scrap and in the middle of the ring and all the rest of it, and it was very real instead of it being the scripted fight that we know of when it comes to pro wrestling. But then there was even further talk of people questioning why they are then in the same match on the next week, next episode of Dark, tag team matches. Now, after watching the match, I saw that the realism happened, but at the same time, I also still saw that level of professionalism that they decided to keep within the match. And between themselves, that was still there. So I don't understand the then reaction of, oh my gosh, why are they going to be in the same match next week?
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, they finished the match, so they would have somewhat buried the hatchet and got on with it. And, it's only benefits both women if they remain on TV and stuff anyway. So, I mean, I've heard what we saw on TV. Obviously, AEW's taped, Dynamite's taped. What we saw on TV wasn't the real thing. That,
edited, apparently.
It was edited, and obviously even then they still left in some of the actual shoot fighting that took place. Crazy. I don't even know what to say.
It made for amazing TV. To see that happening. I the one indication for me was something happened. I can't remember exactly what. But I just saw this look on Ivelisse's face, like, I was like, okay, it's there.
But the match was brilliant. Like, the match was actually good. All the blogs and stuff I read afterwards, nobody rated it less than like 4 out of 5 stars. The match was very good, despite the spat in between. Like, it was good.
And it just goes to show the brilliance of both ladies. As you said, even Thunder Rosa's kind of the center of the women's division, even though she's not signed to AEW, and she's the NWA champion. And then, I'm a massive, massive fan of Ibelis as it is already. So to see her, be able to do her thing, and when they won the tag team tournament and stuff like that as well, it's great to see. It's great to see. Keeping with AEW just for a few more minutes, are we missing Scorpio Sky? Is that just me talking about myself? But have we mentioned him last week because of the whole Dark to Dynamite kind of thing not really working?
Yeah.
Has that now been? Is Scorpio Sky a casualty of that now?
Well, it seems like Will Hobbs has what do you call it? What's the word? Graduated from Dark to Dynamite almost. Right. Which is funny because obviously Scorpio Sky was a signed talent from the beginning and kind of regressed, found himself on Dark as a singles competitor and had his big opportunity with the TNT Championship. That fell flat. And if I'm correct, he hasn't been on Dark since. No. And yeah, where is he? It's like I don't see the road for me for how he's going to come back to prominence unless it's through maybe SCU in a tag team match, which obviously we all want to see him have some type of singles glory. Probably, if I'm not wrong at this stage, probably one of the biggest black stars on AEW. I mean,
for sure. Yeah, for sure.
For name value, but I mean, if we're going by some sort of ranking, Will Hobbs has ultimately
straight up there
jumped. Yeah, he's overjumped him.
There.
So,
of course.
But by name value, yeah, I guess it is Scorpio Sky. But I don't even know how we're getting him back on TV at this rate if it's not just a throwaway tag team match with SCU.
Right. And or possibly in the mix again with the whole Dark Order and
they need to scrap that.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
I mean, it's a possibility, but they just need to scrap it, really.
I mean, the one other little thing that's kind of coming from this is Anna Jay, Brandy Rhodes, and we saw that kind of, give a bit more meat to the bones, I guess, on in a match on Dark as well. When Anna Jay came out, watched the match, and then Brandy's used her rear naked choke on Red Velvet, her opponent, to kind of make a statement. So I'm sure we're going to see more of that storyline kind of happen as well.
Yeah.
Moving on to WWE and what's been going on there. We can't mention WWE, we can't mention Black Wrestlers without mentioning the Hurt Business. Whether it's Black Wrestlers or not, like, they're, for me, the most prominent thing in WWE right now.
Yeah.
They're literally on every hour of Raw, and they're obviously now in the biggest storyline with the scrap with Retribution. We saw what happened last night. I just about caught the highlights today with what happened on Retribution, with Retribution. They have now also kind of shown themselves. We know
somewhat,
who they are.
Who's who, yeah.
Or the prominent, I think it was it 5 of them that were in the ring?
Yeah.
So we know who they are. One of them being Mia Yim. That was blatantly obvious. Blue hair.
They're not even hiding about that.
They're not even trying to hide that. Mercedes Martinez was obvious as well. We're seeing Dominik Dijakovic with now shaved head. Dio Madden was obviously the big black guy with the dreads. Yeah, obviously him. And I think apparently the 5th one was Shane Thorne, who had like this hockey mask.
Yeah.
With the Hurt Business all in the mix, again, it's a question of, do you see that being a way to push the Hurt Business further up in terms of, how establishment, or do you see them as almost possible collateral damage to build Retribution?
I don't think that WWE have an intention to build Retribution much. Yeah. I mean, Retribution and Hurt Business had a match tonight, which ended in a no contest. If they wanted Retribution to look strong, they would have beaten Hurt Business. I do think as well, just touching on Retribution, the whole fact that they gave them masks, have given the men different names to, the names you just called out. I just feel like maybe they have acknowledged now this is dead in the water. Maybe let's just give them different identities, so to speak. And then I'm thinking they're probably going to go for some type of Team Raw or Team WWE versus Retribution at Survivor Series. Team WWE beat them. They're off TV, and then hopefully we get, Mia Yim real debut as Mia Yim in the Royal Rumble in January. Dijakovic can debut as Dijakovic in the Royal Rumble in January, and Retribution is just dead. Like, if Hurt Business come at a cost as collateral to this rubbish, like, it won't be good. It will not be good at all.
It won't. I mean, it's sad the way the whole Retribution thing has gone. I mean, it seemed bad from the off. The way it all happened just felt a mess from the start. There could have been a way for them to make it work. But as you said, the new names, I don't even know what half of them, what T-Bone and Blackjack or something like that.
T-Bar is Dijakovic, Mace is Dio Madden, and Slapjack is Shane Thorne.
Slapjack, T-Bar, and Mace.
Bruv.
Ask an 8-year-old to come up with a few names of some dangerous people, and that's what you'll get.
Dangerous people.
T-Bar, like, what, Twix? What?
Yeah, it's mad.
Like,
I don't know.
Mace.
I just don't know.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that's kind of. It is a dead operation. It's gonna run for a little longer than it should. Well, it already has, to be honest.
Yeah.
They'll try and make it relevant. They'll try and make it work. But it's going to be a very difficult thing to do.
One thing I wanted to just touch on. Like, so I know Dio Madden was commentating for a while on Raw.
Correct.
They took him off TV. He had an angle with Brock Lesnar. I think he got F5'd through a table, and we never saw him again. Right. And I heard he was like training in the Performance Center. Has there been like any news of his footage, or is he doing well or anything like that? Because he was never on NXT TV.
Yeah, I think from memory, this is because I did report on all of those things that you mentioned. There was talk of him. So he started off, came out of nowhere on the commentary team. His first week apparently went well. He was praised in his first week. A few weeks after that, like, I don't know if it was the complete opposite or just simply Vince or the big heads just didn't care anymore. So he got F5 and taken off TV. But apparently, they wanted to bring him back, whether that be directly in a feud with Brock or just, on Raw as someone.
Yeah.
It basically just didn't happen. Obviously, as you said, we never saw him on NXT either. So it kind of makes the whole Retribution thing seem a lot. No, to be fair, you know what? I think it actually helps the thing, because obviously with Retribution, it's the whole we want our chance. We're not getting our chance, so we're gonna, to use the Scorpio Sky phrase, kick down the door to, show you that we're here. So in that respect, it works. But then to give him a new name, try and give him a new identity, try and pretend like he's not the guy that was there a year ago, doesn't make much sense to me. That's the part of it that I don't get, the whole new names thing.
But that's why
trying to pretend they're not who they are.
But that's why I think they're protecting them, because they know that it's not got legs. So at least when Mace as a character dies, one day Dio Madden can emerge and be Dio Madden.
On commentary.
Wherever in
Imagine
WWE.
that.
But I mean, I think one other massive gap in the Retribution logic is obviously they cut a promo talking about how the wrestlers, they need to kind of redesign Raw, and the wrestlers are just out here taking money and doing whatever, blah blah blah. They were banging on last night about on Raw that Retribution have signed WWE contracts.
Are signed talent. Yeah.
Now, why are you signing people that have been destroying everything, one? And two, you're now cussing wrestlers that were getting paid and all this. So are you working for free? Are you volunteering at WWE? If you're on a WWE contract, are you not getting paid? Like, forget. Anyway, we're here for the Hurt Business, innit? Like, let the Hurt Business progress. Let them prosper. Let them do their thing. I'm done with Retribution, innit?
Oh man, I mean, you're not wrong. I heard Michael Cole say they can do what they want. They're out here. They can be out here because they are signed talent.
Best contracts in the world.
A few weeks ago, they were just some folk that were making a mess.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah, that's the end of that. So Cedric Alexander had a match with Apollo Crews. Apollo won the match with, I guess, a little bit of a distraction by Ricochet to help Apollo win. We're continuing this story with Apollo and the Hurt Business. Good thing or bad thing?
I think it needs to end, and I think it can end this weekend. Probably Bobby Lashley retains. Yeah. However, if Apollo is going to kind of win back the US Championship by hook or by crook, and then take that into like the actual US Championship division, that mid-card division, because it has been in like a bondage between Apollo and Hurt Business the last couple of months. So
very true.
Yeah, I don't mind him winning it and taking it back into that, even if that is to free up Cedric Alexander to one day go for that, and Bobby Lashley to, fingers crossed, go on to bigger and better things, i.e. the WWE Championship. I'm all for it. But I do think the relationship with the US title in between these guys probably does need to end at Clash of Champions. Yeah.
It definitely needs to be freed up. As you said, it's in a bondage. You're kind of giving yourself less creative space to do things, because you can do something completely different with Bobby Lashley on his own. Apollo Crews on his own. I think Apollo would need more so the championship than Bobby Lashley definitely would. For him to kind of stay relevant and continue the nice run that he's kind of been on, and we've been able to see how good he can be. I'm the same. I think this whole thing with the Hurt Business and Apollo needs to end, just to free up both sets of people, to establish them further than this feud. Again, we'll see what happens with the Hurt Business. I think we are entering into a WWE versus Retribution type of thing, especially with obviously everyone else coming down to help out. Last night, the Street Profits were there. Not Keith Lee, but Drew McIntyre came out, of course. Yeah. So it's going to be interesting to see where that one goes. Moving over to SmackDown, Big E came back. I don't know about you, but it felt as if like Big E was in the gym for the last 72 hours and
he looked wham.
He came back. He looked massive, bro.
Yeah.
Like, what happened?
Don't know. He's only been off TV for what, 2 weeks since he got beaten up? 1 week?
1 week. He was only off like for a week, and then he came back. Someone get Sheamus to slam me into a car so I can come back like that, because, bro. But yeah, man. So he came back and he took revenge on the security guard that helped Sheamus trick him and put him through the car windscreen. I also noticed, I didn't see the whole thing, but I also noticed him kind of have a bit of a thing with Sami Zayn when he first came into the building or something like
that. Big E.
Yeah.
Maybe.
When he appeared on screen, he had a bit of a thing and beat up on Sami Zayn first of all. I'm hoping that is a little bit. I know Sami Zayn's not the champion, but I'm hoping it's a little bit of an indication as to Big E kind of moving towards that Intercontinental Championship. I think it's time for that to happen. If he's not in the mix with Sheamus and Corbin, who are also kind of mixing it up with Roman Reigns at the moment, then I think that's the only way you can really take him. towards the IC. How do you see it kind of playing out?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, just looking at Roman, it looks like he's about to kill his cousin on Sunday, quite literally. And I think they are going to just maybe feed a bunch of guys to Roman before we get, a big match. Obviously, Survivor Series, if they do their brand versus brand thing, that match is pretty much set. The next big pay-per-view would then be Royal Rumble. Yeah, Roman's going to have to kind of eat through that SmackDown roster. And, I mean, if Big E is going to be in that scene, like I think we discussed some weeks ago, I don't mind him losing to Roman, but that fuels the fire. And, he comes back. Maybe we get a Royal Rumble win or we don't. But either way, he circles around to facing Roman again, and it's triumphant that time. But I'm not sure if winning the Intercontinental Championship does anything for Big E.
Right.
That's why I'm kind of talking past it and looking at the world title, because one, he's done it, like we know. Yeah. And in terms of that mid card in SmackDown, it's like he's AJ Styles shouldn't be there for one in that scene. And we know he's gonna overpower anyone else there. So it's like, do we want him there?
I mean, for me, it's more of re-establishing Big E as a singles competitor more than anything else.
Okay.
You're correct in saying, the competition kind of would feel a little bit unrealistic. You could take out Jeff, really, Sammy, yeah, AJ, good match, but AJ should be a little bit higher on the card as well. I mean, give me Big E and AJ, I'd be happy, whether it's for a title or not. To be honest. Yeah. But I just feel as if it's just right for him to kind of win that title, say that he's done that, to then really say, all right, I've done this, I've done that. Now I'm coming for Roman Reigns or whoever the champion is at the time.
Unless it's a thing where, they kind of maybe next month or so put the IC belt on him or something like that, or give him a little run between now and Royal Rumble time just to see if, the crowd are behind him and just to kind of get a sense for the general reaction, and then we are seeing something bigger. So it's almost like a test run. And like you said, to establish him, he hasn't been a singles competitor. He hasn't been a champion on his own for a long time. So
very long time.
Yeah, there might be some new things from him that we see, some other kinds of entertainment or some really good promos that he needs to work on before something bigger and better falls in his lap. But yeah, I mean, even Jeff Hardy, as you mentioned, the possible competitors, I'm sure, Jeff Hardy's recently signed a WWE contract and they're looking to kind of put him back into like the world title picture. I think that might even be basis on the contract he signed. So I'm trying to think who else is there. Like AJ Styles is definitely going to get moved up closer to like the bigger pay-per-views. He's going to be in something more prominent. There's good matches there for him. If the likes of Cesaro and Shinsuke lose their tag team championship, Cesaro or Shinsuke would be brilliant competitors for him. But
that's true.
I mean, you just have to see how it goes.
Yeah, it's whether, again, as always, guys like Shinsuke and Cesaro are people that we as fans absolutely love. We see them as stars. We see their, whether, not even just potential, but, their current status and how good they are. But at the same time, those two very specifically are always the guys that WWE seem to kind of just throw away kind of thing, or not use them really to the potential that we as fans believe they should be in. So yes, they've got a championship on their shoulders right now, but, it's a championship that we don't really care about. A championship that they're probably, is below them, really. So yeah, we'll see what happens with that.
The other day I stumbled across something and I saw that Cesaro, I think Cesaro is 40 or 41. And I just said to myself, God, man, when are they going to do something with this guy? Please. Give him a world title or something. This guy's really deserving of something,
Yeah. What was interesting, though, obviously we had the Raw Tag Team Champions, the Street Profits, against Cesaro and Shinsuke, the SmackDown Tag Team Championships, and the Street Profits won. Now, to me, that's a massive win, not because of the title that they hold, but because of who they are, and as how we, as fans, see Cesaro and Shinsuke. Street Profits are relatively new; they're very young as wrestlers. So for them to win a match against those two, as well as it was as well, I think it's a vote of confidence from WWE to say 100%. That these guys are stars. We're going to do something more with these guys, and I think we've seen that with them progressively anyway throughout their whole time. They've come from NXT. We've seen a very, very nice progression with both guys, so that's another encouraging thing. The other thing I was going to mention is NXT. Are we losing stars on NXT?
How do you mean?
We're not seeing many of the black stars on NXT anymore. Are there any left? They're there, but they're not being used. So we've got Isaiah Swerve Scott.
Mm-hmm.
He kind of, he shows up every now and again, and got a little bit of a thing with the Cruiserweight champion, but he wasn't on TV. Obviously Keith Lee's now gone. He was our main star on that show. Velveteen Dream is in his, I don't know, just all over the place with everything that's going on with him, either in the ring, outside of wrestling.
Yeah,
it's just a bit of a mess right now. And then after that, there's kind of almost no one. Kaden Carter showed up and was really, really impressive in a tag team match, but that's it.
For me, I guess for the past few years, I looked at Velveteen Dream and I thought, this guy is going to be a star. Like, I just, there's no way. Like, they can put him on Raw or something. It doesn't matter who they put him under. Vince McMahon can't ruin this guy. Like, nobody can. Unfortunately, the one person that has seemed to have ruined him is himself, through hook or by crook. Even if we don't have solid proof of some of the allegations and things that have happened, it's just unfortunately wrong place, wrong time, involved some way or the other in these stories. It's not good. And obviously, as a company, which you have to completely understand, you now don't want to overinvest in somebody that might be gone tomorrow.
Right.
So it's extremely unfortunate to say, but I mean, sometimes we just have to, call a spade and hold your hands up and say, I kind of done this to myself, in a way, so
yeah, of course.
I hope he's not the end. He can get back to himself. I'm hoping this heel persona he's kind of doing right now on NXT helps get back to those original days of Velveteen Dream. But yeah, I
mean, I find it extremely interesting that he is caught up in what it is, very unfortunately, any kind of allegation that is related to anything sexual has its repercussions, whether guilty or innocent. As soon as that accusation comes out, boom, that is it. No one wants to touch you with a barge pole and all that kind of stuff. And morally, that's completely understandable. Unfortunately, if they are false, it's very unfortunate for then the person who's accused, for them to go through whatever it is that they will. But I find it super interesting, and I don't mean that in an excited way, that WWE are still trying to use him. And I know he's as great as he is as a star, as a wrestler, as a performer, and all of that. But I'm just like, are you really that much invested in? Is he really that important to you for you to have to feel the need to have to still put him on TV? Leave him out for a bit, find out whatever you got to find out, and then maybe in future we see what happens. As you said earlier, he's such a big star. The only person that could mess up his future was himself. Only person. We're kind of seeing that happen. I mean,
I
I don't
mean,
know where this goes.
after the allegations were coming out and stuff like that, obviously he was involved in a car accident. Thank God nothing serious happened to him. And it seemed like during that period is when WWE were looking into the allegations and stuff like that. And Triple H has since come out and said, we done our investigation. We didn't find nothing. So, you know, he's back on TV. Obviously some people, fans, have still mentioned and kind of let us know their displeasure in that decision. But it's like, as an employer, WWE have kind of backed their guy. Look, he was in trouble. We took him off TV. Plus, he was injured and recuperating. We done our investigations. We haven't found nothing. What do you want us to do? Like,
Very true.
now, at the same time, the likes of Enzo had a very similar situation. They just got rid of him altogether. And then he came out. The allegations were false completely. And Enzo's been very vocal that, you know, they didn't back me, sort of thing.
Right.
So they clearly still see money in Velveteen Dream. I think that's the long and short, because yeah, they would have binned him like they binned Enzo and maybe some others that have been a victim to such allegations. But I think right now it's very much like where the fans, some of them don't want to see him, some want to see him, and they kind of finding his position back in NXT on the show. They're probably just kind of tiptoeing with their plans for him and don't have they don't want to, like I say, overinvest in him, and maybe something happens and they have to take him out of storylines, take him off TV. That's probably what it is.
Yeah. What's interesting as well is someone else who's kind of, as you said, been accused of things recently is Austin Theory. He was on Raw. He was accused of whatever. We never saw him for a while. He's back on NXT. So, you know, that demotion, I guess. What we also notice as well is that he's being beaten all the time. So he comes out and does his thing and whatever else. So in the wrestling world, that's called a squash. In the wrestling world, that is your punishment almost. You know what I mean? For you to be beaten quite obviously, quite in your face, and that's your punishment.
Yeah.
I think we're possibly seeing a very similar thing with Velveteen. He got beaten up by Kushida a couple of weeks ago. That's taking him off TV. Possibly that's what it is. That's what's happening. And maybe in a few weeks we'll see him come back and probably reestablish him in some way. But that one is a very interesting one. We are now coming towards the end of our show. Quite surprisingly, I feel like I could talk for another 4 hours.
One thing before we get on to Stars of the Week, one thing I want to mention, we saw on Raw, maybe when you see the whole show, you'll see they've done, I think, what will be the beginning of a few of these vignettes for Bianca Belair.
Okay, I completely missed that, bro.
Yeah, these are going to be good. Once it came on TV, it reminded me of like the vignettes they used to do for Mr. Perfect, where he just does like all these mad stuff and just gets it right. So she entered the performance center and she was going up against just some random guy in the performance center. The guy was struggling to lift. Bianca Belair just lifted like no problem. The guy was trying to walk on his hands. She just done the walk on the hands up and down like just easy. So on this one, they were showing that she's the strongest. So maybe we're going to see some other ones where she's the quickest, the roughest. I don't know, but and I guess the vignettes kind of just make me excited that maybe they're trying to re-establish her and maybe we're actually going to see her on TV soon. 100% Asuka needs challengers. I mean, she's got Zelina Vega for Clash of Champions. That match is going to be on the pre-show from what I saw on the kickoff show, which isn't great.
What makes sense?
Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax should probably just drop the women's tag championships just to give Asuka something to do, but maybe they are just trying to build up Bianca Belair for a possible shot at Asuka in the near future. So yeah, those vignettes are something to look forward to.
Definitely gonna check those out, man. I know she had a match on Main Event. I have no idea the result of the match, but she had a match on Main Event against Billie Kay as well. So you know, if the vignettes are happening and she's having these matches as well, you know, whether it be on Raw or kind of in the background, so to speak, then yeah, I think it's a nice way to build her as well. Maybe she should be rushed towards the front because there's no real contenders to Asuka but we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, maybe just they can. I mean, they can afford to kind of take their time. Like I say, I think Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler will probably split soon, and then maybe one of those will go off into a match with Asuka. By the time Bianca Belair faces Asuka, or maybe whomsoever's going to be the women's champion, you kind of want her to win at that point. Like, you don't want her to kind of climb to the top and lose. So as long as she's getting back on TV and reestablishing herself, I think that's the most important thing right now anyway.
Very, very true. Moving on then to our stars of the week. I feel like I'm about to... What is going on? Hit me off with yours, first of all, just so I can recover in the background. Who's your star of the week and why?
All right, so on this particular week, he never had a great week, but I think this is for an overall body of work. Dabba Kato. I've obviously, since Raw Underground began, he has been a constant. I even look back, Raw Underground's been going on for maybe about 6 weeks now.
Yeah.
He has been a constant force. He has been what I've referred to on my videos on my channel as the final level boss. That, you know, you have your run on Raw Underground, no matter who it is, Riddick Moss, Dolph Ziggler, and then Dabba Kato steps into the ring, and then you lose.
Of course.
Yeah, so he's had, and obviously he was Babatunde before, so this is almost like a repackaging for him. He was even on Raw this past week in a little KO show segment to kind of promote his fight with Braun Strowman on Raw Underground. Unfortunately, he lost, which surprised me. I would have preferred if they had something like a Braun Strowman gets the upper hand on him somehow in some physical confrontation on KO show, but then Dabba Kato beat him where it counted in Raw Underground to keep him as the boss. I don't know if this now makes Braun Strowman the boss. I don't know. But I just think it's just been a really solid 6 weeks for him. He's one of the little glimpses that have come out of Raw Underground in the last couple of weeks. So, yeah, I'm giving it to Dabba Kato.
It's kind of felt as if Raw Underground was made for him.
Yeah, people of his ilk.
Yeah. Just for him, or it was created and then they saw an opportunity to make sure that they build him within this whole thing. It's very nice to see. I've seen glimpses of Babatunde when NXT was still running their house shows. Some clips of what he does. At one point, he was coupled with Leo Rush, which kind of helped re-establish Leo Rush then.
Leo Rush, yeah.
So I was expecting him to come with him when Leo Rush kind of came back onto TV and stuff like that. Unfortunately, it never happened. Dabba Kato also was in the WWE film Main Event as the
Netflix film,
as the main bad guy. Yep, he was the main bad guy. My son is like obsessed with him and Keith Lee because of that film.
And we can't get it on Netflix here. How did you watch it?
I've got it. It's on Netflix, bro.
On British Netflix?
Yes.
Okay, I've looked for it so many times. I'll search for
Yeah. Because my son watched it and he got all excited. And as I do, I took a picture of my son in front of the screen, all happy and whatever else, and I put it on, tagged in Keith Lee and all the guys, and then Babatunde, as he was at the time, reposted it.
Oh, sick.
So I showed it to my son. My son just like absolutely gassed.
Went off.
Like absolutely gassed. Every time he sees it on TV. Oh, that's the one on the film. He's crazy. Let me go with my star of the week. My one's a little bit different, and I'm pulling from a company that we don't really talk about. And we should, I think we should a little bit more. Is Impact.
Okay.
My star of the week is Kiera Hogan.
Okay. I saw her match.
So, yeah. Her match with Taya Valkyrie, a former Impact women's champion or knockouts champion, as they call it. She beat her. That's a massive win. But it's not just that win alone. It's her work with Tasha Steelz over the last 2 months since Tasha Steelz has been on Impact has been amazing. Them two, their chemistry, the way they are. I don't know where Impact's going to take it, but it's a joy to watch every single time they're on. Every single time they're on TV every week. If you don't watch Impact, watch Impact. Even if it's just the highlights on IG, even if it's the highlights on YouTube, they're both the same anyway. Catch it. It's great. Also the other thing I was going to mention with Impact as well is they're very strong with their black stars. They're all very very prominent in their their separate divisions and the places that they are on the card and on the show and all that stuff. And last week, all the black stars that had matches won. I just thought I needed to mention that one. So shout out to Impact for that one. But yeah, obviously also as well, like Impact, their stars, Chris Bay, Trey Miguel, Desmond Xavier, the rest of the Rascals. You've got, Kiera Hogan and Tasha Steele's doing their thing, Willie Mack, and Rich Swann as well is now kind of
he's challenging for the title, isn't it?
The World Championship title, as well. Yeah, so that one's playing out nicely. If you don't watch Impact, you can still catch my review on the Instagram page, the Melon Impact. See what I did there? Melon Impact review as well. So check that out. So yeah, Kiera Hogan for me, and I must mention my honorable mention has to be Kaden Carter. I think her showing on NXT, that match was
very good,
impressive, bro. I think it was amazing, and I think the two, her and Casey Catanzaro, are very good together. I think they're very, very good as a tag team. I think they now need a bit of a name because their names are long. Personally, I'd call them KC2 because both their names start with a K and a C. Yeah. And there's two of them. KC2 just sounds nice as well. It works. WWE can give me the check when they start using that one. But yeah, Kaden Carter's my honorable mention as well. I think she's just kind of been progressing nicely. I expected massive things for her when she first went there. Didn't quite work out that way, but she's been putting in the work, and we're seeing it come to fruition, as they say.
So let me drop my honorable mention.
Go for it.
And I didn't think this was worthy, but now you were doing honorable mentions. I'll mention this guy anyway.
Go on. This
brother that stands outside the Raw Underground door. I don't know his surname. Jordan something, I think his name is.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
Bruv, that guy, I just love him and Shane McMahon's chemistry. Like, they're just so cool together. Like, honestly, if this was the 90s, it would be Jordan versus Dabba-Kato in the main event of WrestleMania for the World Championship. Like, apart from the fact that's two black guys, Vince McMahon would love the size of both of them too.
Right.
And yeah, I think whenever they decide to do something with him anyway, he's going to be very interesting to watch. But yeah,
I know that they are quite big on working with his potential, at least. When he kind of first was on the scene on TV, obviously he came out as the big ninja. Questionable name. Yeah, for obvious reasons. But from the off, he kind of had a standoff with the Big Show, and a few other things which kind of led the media and reporters and the dirt sheets, I guess, to try to work out what WWE wanted to do with him.
Yeah.
Because he came straight onto TV and was never really on NXT, they compared it to Braun Strowman. Yeah. So Braun Strowman was never on NXT, came straight onto TV, and obviously he's now, former WWE champion, as established as he is. So they're kind of trying to compare him and saying that that's the way WWE want to go with him eventually. Yeah. So we'll see. Again, it's encouraging that we see him every week, even if it is just as a doorman or, but also as well next to the boss's son. That's got to be a good indication of what they potentially see they can do with him.
I mean, once he gets into the ring, I wouldn't even mind if Shane is like his manager and that, like,
that would be crazy.
They actually have good chemistry together. Like,
that would be crazy.
But yeah.
And if anyone doesn't see this, he's actually a very funny guy. If you check out, maybe you'd probably see on a WWE PC, Twitter, Instagram, or
YouTube
or
channel.
YouTube channel. His chemistry with Josiah Williams is great.
I saw that.
Oh my gosh, they did a little advert for the new mini replica belts.
Yeah,
that was the last thing I saw that they did. That was funny. But they've done other things before as well together. And yeah, man, he's a funny guy. He's a funny guy, gentle giant, but he can turn it on when he needs to do the aggressive thing as well. So that's going to be interesting to see what they do with him as well. We have now come towards the end of our show. We do have another 5 minutes, but if I start talking again, we'll be here for another 15. So let us end where we are. It's been another great show. Mex, where can we find and follow you on the socials and anywhere else?
WrestleManiac UK everywhere. Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. That's where you can find the video version of this as well, of this show. Daily videos on my platforms. So yeah, you can check those out.
Always check out the daily reactions and videos from the WrestleManiac Mex. Always very good. Always very informative. I think he's trying to take my spot, but he does it better than me anyway.
I can't take your spot. No chance.
He does it better than me, but check him out, man. I think, I'm here trying to help establish Mex because he's doing great things. That's why we do what we do together. Also, check out my page if you're not already. I'm sure you are. Black Wrestling Alliance on Instagram. And also check out, of course, the WrestleMania UK YouTube channel. Subscribe, hit those notifications, and watch this video as well. Also, of course, you can listen to us on Affinity Extra, the UK-based gospel radio station, on a Thursday at 12 p.m. GMT. So that's like some stupid time in the morning in America. But it gets repeated again later on in that same day. And on the Saturday evening as well. So look out for that. Guys, it's been amazing. It's been great. This is your boy, A Dazzle, alongside my guy, Mex. And we will see you next time.